Yeah, I think I remember one day I was in Dubai, like we were having this event for the Expo Dubai Live, and I met one of my mentors, and one thing he mentioned, I think, which stuck with me, and actually I still live with it and every day, is that you have to. He just mentioned that he said, like, you know what, you have to learn and unlearn. And I was like, what are you trying to say, man? Like learn and unlearn. What exactly is that? Yeah. So ideally, when I started to digest that quote, like you have to learn and unlearn, I was like, okay, so now I understand what exactly he's trying to say. Like you have actually to be open-minded. You have to be ready to actually accept the challenges. You need to be to accept the people who are different with you, but you have to also understand that there's somebody or someone who knows better than you. So this quote for me was like an eye opener. Like you have actually to do that so that you can grow as an individual, but also you can grow as an entrepreneur. And as you say, like the entrepreneurship journey itself is a little bit challenging. It's a little bit lonely journey. But if you actually learn and unlearn and understand that you don't know everything, I think it become a little bit easier.
Hi everyone, this is Jacob, Fatung, the host of Doers Within Us. This is a continuation of our collaboration with the African Diaspora Network and the amazing program that they have, an ongoing program called the Builders for Africa's Future. And I'm here with George Akilimali.
Yes, Akilimali.
Akilimali, based in Tanzania, right? And he's the founder of Smartcore, and he's our sixth guest, almost there for the amazing Builders of Africa's Future. And we're really honored and privileged to have him here to share his story as part of our collaboration. And I'm really excited to learn more about him as well. So to our listeners, thank you guys for watching the last 4 episodes of this, just this incredible Builders for Africa's Future. And just your stories have been profoundly inspiring to me, and hope to see you. So George, thank you so much. I'm so bad with pronouncing last names for Africa, of my African brothers and sisters, which I have to know because I'm from this country. So please, welcome.
Thank you very much, Jaco. Thank you very much.
George, let's just start with just give us how you grew up. Was based in Tanzania, were you in South Africa? Just give us a background of your childhood experience, and what how was it? Early upbringing. You can include primary school, secondary school. I don't know whether I went to boarding school, because I went to that thing. But, it was something. Quite the disciplinary experience. But please share with us like the early childhood education and how you just came to where you are now.
Yes, thank you very much, Jacobo. So as you mentioned, my name is George Akilimali, and I'm the co-founder and the group CEO of Smartcore Enterprise Limited. We are a company which is based in Arusha, Tanzania, and we are literally in the education space. So I was born in 90s in a region called Dodoma. So it's literally the capital city of the country. I think one of the doers also mentioned he was born there. So that was nice to know. And I also I was born in a family of four. So I'm the second born. I went to primary schools in the region, but I got a chance to go into almost 3 different schools within my primary school years. So my father was traveling a lot. He was working in a telecommunication company. So I used to actually go with him everywhere he goes. Though we were supposed to stay at home, but I was just like moving with him wherever he was going. So yeah, I was literally the favorite kid. So yes, so that's my journey for the primary. So for the secondary schools, I went back to Dodoma and started my secondary schools, my lower secondary schools. I studied there for 2 years, then I moved to another region. So by the moment I finished my lower level secondary schools, I literally lived in almost 5 to 6 different regions. So that was my journey. And after secondary schools, I directly went to high school, where I actually went to a boarding school now. So I have an experience of what happens in the boarding schools. And literally, I went to a boys only school. So they were not that much strictly, but I got some different experience because all this previous year I was been living with the family, with my father and mother. So that was been a little bit different, but I survived the high school. Then, yeah, so that's a little bit about me. Then I went to university and founded the Smartcore. Yeah, that's a little bit about the background.
Thanks so much for sharing that. I'm just curious. How did you become the favorite kid?
I don't know. Everybody's still asking like, what happened? How come the second born is the favorite kid? Like, it's not the first, it's not the last. So why? What happened? But I think that's happened.
Yeah,
I think I was too obedient.
That's a good one. That's a good quality to have.
Yeah.
Parents don't want a lot of stress, when it comes to the kid. That's great. So you said your dad, what was your dad's profession when he worked? Because he said you fully.
He was working on a telecommunication company.
That would be a good question. Did that kind of shape did he give you any entrepreneurial insights, or did he help you see something different about just the world and how we should? I know that
I can say. Yes, I can say not exactly, because I think being the favorite kid, you also got these perks like parents like care for you, like they just treat you like you are the only kid, but you are not. So they didn't actually force me to learn about anything like maybe business, entrepreneurship, or anything. So they were just like okay because I was performing well in school. And we didn't have any background in business, not my father, not my mother, like they were all actually employed. So that didn't change much of about who I became, but ideally the journey of starting the entrepreneurship or starting thinking about entrepreneurship and innovation started a little bit late. I remember when I was in high school, that's actually where I actually started to think about entrepreneurship and innovations. And the reason is that my mother died in like a year before me going to high school. So I had to go and live to some of my relatives. And that's where I actually started to see like they were doing businesses. But also I also started immediately to start thinking about how can I survive the world without my father, because like he was everything to me. And yes, so that's how actually I started to generate interest in business and entrepreneurship.
makes sense. That makes sense. No, sorry about your mom. When just give so when you transitioned to college, right? So was this in the main capital of Tanzania? What was I know you have some great schools there.
Yes, so I went into high school in one of the region in the coastal region of the country. So I went to a region which is called Tanga, and ideally it was one of the best publicly owned school. But ideally, I can say the best, but not the best in terms of infrastructures and everything, but the best in terms of like the big names schools in the country. So that was the good thing. But of course, ideally, when I went into that school, the things were not as people were talking about. So ideally, like we had no teachers, we had no books, like as normal any other normal publicly owned schools in Africa. So like all the challenges which have been existing have been also existing in that school. The only difference is that like you get kids who are coming from different backgrounds. So you have kids who are coming from well-off families because of the name of the school. So they have these materials and resources. They've been into different tuition centers. So that has been the journey for the high school. And I think, as I also mentioned, like that's where my journey, my interest in education, my interest in entrepreneurship actually started, because I started to meet with different people from different backgrounds. I started to face the challenges which otherwise I could not face when I was in other levels of school.
Got you. I mean, that's interesting exposure, and it's good to always get that very early on in your career. No, thanks so much for sharing. I think it's also an insight of just how what you really, how your life was, as you were growing up. For us, so once you went to university and you started Smartcore, just can you please help us give us kind of a background of how the idea came about, and just the thought process to build it up, because now you are you're right there, right? You're one of those entrepreneurs that people will be looking up to, right? If you can take us behind the curtains and give us an idea of how you started and how you built the idea into something now. Process.
Yeah, so definitely. So the idea itself started in high school, as I mentioned, but I can say the experience which we got from high school is what actually drove me to start thinking about education innovations, not specifically on technology, but just thinking about what can we do about the difference in education. And the reason why I started to think about that in high school is that before going to high school, I actually went to a private lower secondary school. So for the first 4 years of secondary school, I actually went to a private school. So we were like baby feed, like we have a good number of teachers until we are running away from them. We had the school libraries, like almost 2 or 3 of them. We had computer rooms and everything, every resources we could ask as a student. Then I decided like I should go for a public school in high school. And that was the worst mistake, but also the best mistake I ever made. So on high school, I started to see that difference. I saw the gap. As I said, like the first 6 months, we had completely no teachers. So we had to learn through our fellows. We had no school library. We had no computer rooms. I remember one, like the first 6 months, we got a computer room from Koika, one of the Korean organization, but it was literally closed almost the entire week. So we couldn't even use it as much. So that's where the idea itself actually started. And so I started to think about what can we actually do to change this? Because I see the gap, I see the difference which is existing between the public and the private education institution. I didn't do much. What I was trying to do back then was just trying to survive the high school and pass the examination. But when I went to university, immediately I remember I was given there like to choose 3 different options of courses for university, and they decided to choose one. So I just picked one courses because I knew like whatever happens, I need to study ICT. For me, it was just like this technology thing could definitely help. So after seeing the experience, like after seeing that background, I actually decided to go for ICT for university. So when I went to university, that's where I actually started implementing the idea of Smartcore. And it started a little bit different than what it is right now. But where we started, we actually used to collect, we actually used to use the free university internet to actually download the resources from the internet. So we went to YouTube, we went to Google, like trying to find any type of resource we could find, videos, like PDF, like books, whatever resources we could find. We collected those resources and put them in a CD drive, then share them to different schools which were around the university. So we are starting to share them to nearby schools within the university campus. So that is where actually the idea started. So we went with that. I remember that started that immediately my first year of university. So I was just like having 3 or 4 months of university. I already started like using that. So we actually did that for the entire 3 years of university. So me and my fellow friends who were in the same university, we actually started doing that for the entire 3 years. But we, of course, along the way, we started to pivot. Like when we started, we were just giving these resources for free. So we're just giving it to students, whoever is in need or whoever has access to maybe, let's say, a DVD player, we could definitely share that. So then later on, we decided like we should at least charge them a little bit so that we can actually scale this, because after a time, we went into a position where we could not afford to pay for the resources for every single student. So we started charging them a very minimum amount, which is about less than $50 to actually get access to these CDs. So we scaled that until our final years of university. Like we've been like improving the content, trying to download the content from the beta source, trying to find out the resources from different places and actually doing that. So that's how the journey actually started for Smartcore.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. And just it's very entrepreneurial, right? You was a personal challenge, then you beta tested, then you did out the from freemium to kind of trying to figure out how to make money out of it, which I think is a standard story. For that process, can you please help us just share with us people that kind of supported you along the way, your co-founders, just mentors that help build that give you the tenacity, the fortitude, to keep going. You look like a very calm person, but I know entrepreneurship is up and down.
Yes, so definitely. So this journey was not like a lonely journey, but I definitely had some people around me who definitely helped. But I honestly say that one of the few of the people who actually helped us was my co-founders, the people who we actually started together. So they were there for me. I was there for them. Like, we actually supported each other. We didn't get much of support when we were in university because we even never asked, or we didn't even know where to actually ask for that specific support. But when when we finished the university and actually started doing Smartcore as a business, like 2 years later after university, that's where we actually started to get access to different support. So I think I'm one of the few people who actually went into a lot of mentorship programs, a lot of training programs, actually to get the support from different people, from different mentors across the world. I remember the first time I went beyond Tanzanian borders, traveling beyond the Tanzanian border, was actually through a program which was mentoring program for a company, for a certain institution in Kampala, Uganda. Then after that, I went to Kenya for Yali. I went to other different programs, like almost 10 of them over time. So that's how it happened. So a lot of people have been part of this one way or another. So I've been supporting us in terms of like mentorship, guiding us where to go, guiding us how do we actually scout this, how do we improve what we are offering, all that kind of thing. So I definitely leverage that number. And now we have mentors across the world. We have mentors from all the way from Australia, all the way to Hong Kong, China. So it's definitely a network of people who are actually supporting us in one way or another.
Over time, as you start building the company, you see you have a lot of people that come into the fray to help you build and support the company. So just tell us, how's your experience so far with the Bidders for Africa's Future, and and just the system that they have in place. I'm sure this is going to be kind of an extraordinary for you to get this to a very global level and to Africa. What has it been like, and how do you see that kind of building Smartcore to the next?
Yes, so I think I always tell people one of the very important learning we had when we were starting this until now is your network is everything. So building the network of either partners, people who share your visions, people who actually understand what you're trying to accomplish, funders, donors, whatever type of support you get is always valuable more than anything else. So for us, when we were joining this program, we were looking into that. And I think that's what's been one of my biggest sell point always, we are looking for the partners. We're looking for people who can work with. It doesn't matter what type of partnership. It might be a mentor. It might be a donor. It might be like a customer. It might be somebody who can introduce you to somebody else. So whatever type of partnership. And I think that has been successfully because since we started this program, so far we have been exposed to a lot of partners, mentors, people who could definitely work with. I just got up for a call with one of my mentors before joining this call. So definitely it has been very supportive. And apart from that, the other part is learning. We always have to learn. We always have to grow. So whatever stage you are in your business, you always have to learn to get to another stage. And for us right now, we're looking to scale. So I definitely saw some gaps in how do we, in terms of knowledge, in terms of skills. So we had to go to this platform to actually get the knowledge. The African Management Institution has been doing an amazing work, supporting us to learn some concepts, understanding how to streamline some of the business processes and all that kind of things. And I think that has been very, very valuable for us through this program. And of course, we are looking forward for what comes next after the program, including the funding and all that support. Yes.
Exactly, for sure, for sure. And thanks so much for sharing. And I'm really excited for you and all the other Business Africa Future cohort members of 2022, because just the stories has just been, it's beyond inspirational. It's literally, there is it comes with some element of they want to transform the continent, right? It's not just building a company, it's building nations. So, and I'm really excited for you, George, and all the other amazing colleagues you have, and the partners that you guys are building is, I think, is critical for your success. And in terms of just for you, what do you think about the next phase of? I know we have the program going on now. How do you see? How do you see you guys in the next 3 or maybe 2? No, now we don't do 5 years anymore because COVID can't.
Yeah.
How do you see maybe in the next?
Yes.
What's the plan?
Yes, so definitely. So for now, for us, we are actually looking to scale, and we are definitely looking to increase our impact. Of course, we are operating as a for-profit social enterprise, so we're also looking to expand our revenues and our financial part of it, because we are definitely a firm believer that if we can generate some revenue, we can get some funding out, meaning that we can definitely scale the impact also. So we are looking into that, and for the next 2 years, I can say one of the target goal we have is to actually help at least 1 million learners across East Africa. So right now, our product is actually based in Tanzania mostly, so the users are actually Tanzanian, but we are now thinking to expand about to other East African markets, and we've been into conversation with people from Kenya and even from the recent DRC Congo, where they actually recently joined the East Africa community. Ideally, for the next 2 years, we are looking to expand through that market and actually help the learners to access our service easily. So yes, that's what we're looking for.
That's amazing. That's incredible. 1 million users. That's a great goal. So and now we get into a phase of this interview where I think this conversation rather, that I think is I love this section, is to learn more about just advice you have gotten from people. What do you think people should know about doing business in Tanzania or in Africa? And how do you want your legacy to be like? And one thing that I love to learn is what has been, just to start, what has been an advice or a comment or a book that you've read that has really inspired you and grounded you to because now the antiques of entrepreneurship is very it's difficult, right? You on one hand you have a public face and things are going well. Behind the scene, you need something that is very consistent and solid to keep you strong in the inside. Whether it's reading a book or having a great just having this person that that provides great advice, or just there's a pivot in your life that you realize that this is what I have to do for my life. What have been any advice that you've received that really changed your thought, or perhaps a book that you read that really changed the way you think about yourself and about entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I think I remember one day I was in Dubai, like we were having this event for the Expo Dubai Live, and I met one of my mentors, and one thing he mentioned, I think, which stuck with me, and actually I still live with it and every day, is that you have to. He just mentioned that he said, like, you know what, you have to learn and unlearn. And I was like, what are you trying to say, man? Like, learn and unlearn. What exactly is that? Yeah. So ideally, when I started to digest that quote, like, you have to learn and unlearn, I was like, okay, so now I understand what exactly he's trying to say. Like, you have actually to be open-minded. You have to be ready to actually accept the challenges. You need to be to accept the people who are different with you. But you have to also understand that there's somebody or someone who knows better than you. So this quote for me was like like an eye opener. Like you have actually to do that so that you can grow as an individual, but also you can grow as an entrepreneur. And as we say, like the entrepreneurship journey itself is a little bit challenging. It's a little bit lonely journey. But if you actually learn and unlearn and understand that you don't know everything, I think it become a little bit easier.
Yes.
And regarding the book, I think one of my favorite books it's a cliche, but it's literally Rich Dad Poor Dad. Ideally, it actually speaks about the mindset, especially in Africa, about how we actually grow, how we actually learn from our education system, all the way to the upbringing from the parents and the community. I think it actually speaks about these two sides of the coin. And I think for us, we actually have to understand the both sides of the coin. So definitely that.
Awesome. What's the title of the book again?
Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's interesting. I've not heard of that one before. It's a great read. I'm sure it's going to be a great read. No, thanks. I agree with you on this. On learn to learn. It's quite powerful. That's insightful. Probably a lot of our listeners will find that valuable. Just how we do things in the current. We have so much information coming to us in this world in our times, and sometimes we assume that we get to learn a lot.
Yes.
So sometimes we get to have this perception that we're learning, but one thing that I've learned, and maybe you just meeting people like you and just having conversations like this, is the power of perception and practice. Because your perception drives how you think about yourself, how you think about the impact you can create to the world. The other thing, if you don't practice, if you don't do things, you don't get to full strength of yourself and also how you can make an impact in the world. I think the power of practice and the power of perception and practice those two P's are very powerful and kind of sees through in your work and the advice you've been getting at this amazing mentor you've had. So through your company, Smartcore, and just you, how do you want your legacy to be? I know you're a very young man. You probably have 90 years. But what do you see? What do you want people to see about your company, about Tanzania as a country? Most of the African countries, we tend to define ourselves by what people have done for us or how people have defined certain countries. But with entrepreneurs like you can change the narrative, right? And can give a new of Africans in diaspora, African companies. How do you see your role through Smartcore to enlighten people on the continent, and also how we can change the narrative moving forward through your legacy?
Yeah, interesting question. So I usually tell people like one of the very amazing benefits of working in education space is like actually meeting the beneficiary directly. So either students or parents or kids, and see exactly how your product or innovation or technology actually help them. So for that from that feeling, I think I always tell people like my legacy is just simple. I just need to go like in 100 years to come. I hope I'll be there, which I know I won't. But I hope that by that time I can actually look back and say like, this somebody, I just actually help this somebody to attain their goals, whatever their goals in life. I know I'm a firm believer that education is everything. If we want to change anything in Africa or around the world, I think the first place to start is education, because education actually changed the mindset. Education actually changed the perception, as you mentioned. The education actually changed the way people look at the things around them. So I think if we can definitely make that change. So if we can even make one person and say like, you know what, maybe Smartcore or George actually helped me to achieve my goals. And this is how I actually transformed from where I was to where I am now. I think for me, that is the best legacy you can have. And I think for me, that's enough.
Totally agree. And I think that's for me, that's the most efficient way to really create impact. And and create a long-term legacy. I think I am 100% on board with what you're doing and how you're making a difference in Tanzania. Hope you can come to West Africa and expand Smartcore. So no, definitely. I was saying that that's what you're building and how you're thinking about creating an impact is the most efficient way to make a difference. And I think that truly can make a difference and provide people with, they can look back and say George made such a profound impact generational wise, and it's just really amazing the work you're doing and how you're making a difference in Tanzania. And I was saying that you should come to West Africa. We need stuff like this, companies like this to really, provide make education more accessible. But thank you so much for your work. Thank you for all you do. It's just really good to get to know you and meet you. And I'm sure our listeners really appreciated the story you shared with us and your growth and the plans you have for yourself and your company. So thank you so much for everything.
Thank you very much, Jacobo. It's my pleasure, and I'm looking forward to actually see if we can definitely expand to West Africa. I definitely would love that, and I think a lot of people have been asking us to see if we can definitely go. Like my feel like the person I was talking to before this call was just asking me like, when are you coming to Nigeria? I was like, okay, I'm coming to Nigeria. Not this time, but I'll be coming to Nigeria soon. So definitely that.
For sure. Thank you so much. Thanks again for being part of this collaboration. And please come back anytime to share more stories. And just be a pleasure to follow your journey. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jacob.
To our listeners, again, this is George from Smartcore, part of the Builders of Africa's Future program. And he's one of the 11 amazing entrepreneurs that were picked for this program, the 2022 Cohort, and we're just excited about him and his future and how he's going to make a difference on the African continent and globally. So you're now getting global, George.
Yes. Thank you very much for that.
Okay, everyone. See you guys in the next episode. Thanks again, George.
Thanks.